Welcome back to the channel. We are your Colorado real estate family, and majority of you have been reaching out talking about that typical suburbia style neighborhood and houses, but a lot of you have been recently asking, can I get land in Colorado? Well, in this video, you're about to find out.
All right, let's go.
If you're new to our channel, Chelsea and Pete here, and if you're interested in moving to our beautiful state of Colorado, do yourself a favor, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell below, because we put out 2 videos a week covering a bunch of different cities.
And along those lines, guys, licensed real estate in here, helping you out with all your real estate needs. So people just like you, we help out all the time. So if you're looking at purchasing real estate in the state of Colorado, we're going to throw the phone number below, right there. Give us a call or text. We will answer either way. Wow, that was a loud clap.
I know, you've been clapping a lot.
I know, it's like my little mental, my subconscious, like go. But
he's like a little cheerleader over here, like come on, hit the subscribe button.
All right, cool. So real quick note, because we don't really call this out too often, but we are going to start doing it from now on. We often ask you guys if you have ideas about titles or cities that you want us to cover, then we'll cover that. This is one of those videos. One of you recommended, or you were asking us, hey, can I get a house with land in Colorado? So to you who decided to recommend this video to us, thank you, and we are so glad that we could bring it.
Okay, so we thought it would be really fun to give you a couple different options, some things that might be north of Denver, things that are kind of surrounding Denver, and then a couple that are south. And then if you stick around to the end, we're actually going to rate all of these different cities that you can find land and the top 3. So stick around to the end.
The first city, or I guess cities, that we're going to be covering today is Brighton, Fort Lupton. And the reason that we grouped those two together is because the Fort Lupton is literally just north of Brighton. So they're both kind of very similar. Brighton is the larger of the two. And I will tell you, growing up, because we are natives in the state of Colorado, Brighton was always known as that place that you go out and buy land, where you go out if you want to have agriculture, or if you want to do a farm. Brighton was the place to go, right?
This is where our farmers lived.
Yeah,
let's be real. We thought this is like, that's where we thought all the farmers lived. They always had the top 4-H clubs. He used to think that I was like that I rode a bunch of horses, which I'm like all for riding horses, but I've actually like only ridden one once. But anyways, when growing up, when like people said Brighton, we just assumed it was like farmland.
Yep.
So, okay, so where are they from Denver?
Brighton and Fort Lupton are actually going to be northeast of Denver. And if you want to get there, just go north on I-25, and then you go straight east on I-76. And you could go 2 different ways. You could either go Highway 85, which goes straight up north, and that'll bring you to Brighton and then Fort Lupton. Or if you want to go on like the newer portion of Brighton, you'll take 76 all the way out to Bromley Lane.
When we're talking about how to give you the best options for this, and how we're going to be grading this at the end, we thought about telling you kind of like the ranges of what a larger piece of land with a house would actually cost. So we did 3+ in our search,
we did
right?
3+ acres is what we're looking at right now.
Acres. In Brighton, the lowest on the market right now, so we're in November of 2022. So the lowest on market right now was $550,000. And it went all the way up to $1.8 million with active listings right now. However, majority of the listings right now in Brighton are actually in the high 900,000s to 1 mil, kind of the mid-range of that. So yes, there are options. That's the price range that it is. Now, if you're looking at Fort Lupton, it's going to be the minimum amount of $690 and the max of $2.7 million. But again, most of them, it's really hard to find anything below $1 million, and majority of them are in the $1 million price range.
And just throw a little quick note on that. So these numbers that we're telling you guys right now, we literally just searched active listings up to 3 acres in these places, and these are the price of the ranges that we had. So with active listings as of now, so don't think that you're not going to be able to find something for cheaper, or it might be a little bit more expensive. That's just the active listings as of this time that we just checked the beginning of November. The next group of cities that we're going to be talking about is like Hudson and Kingsburg, and I will say that these places are blown up quite a bit in regards to land properties, because Brighton is starting to develop a lot more into suburbia, right? And so a lot of that farmland that was there before, it's now a bunch of houses. And so now you have Hudson and Kingsburg that's coming super popular for farmers and anyone in agriculture who want to have a little bit more land but don't really want to be around that city lifestyle. Now, where is Hudson and Kingsburg? You're pretty much going to go straight east of Brighton and Fort Lupton. 76, so we talked about how 76 to get into the south side of Brighton is you just get off on Bromley Lane. Just keep on going a little bit further. And actually, if you went south on Bromley Lane, you could still hit kind of that part of Kingsburg and Hudson in that area as well, too. But pretty much just straight east of Brighton.
Okay, so what does it look like for pricing? As of this month, Hudson, the minimum price on market right now is $590, and the max is 1.8. So still kind of in the same range, but majority of them are in the low 1 million. So I really do think that this is a good option for somebody who's looking in the $1 million price range, who's looking for that land. Maybe you want a ranch, things like that. So if you're looking at
or maybe you just want to have build a dirt bike track, because I have had a client where he bought a farm and he literally just built a dirt bike track out there. It's pretty cool.
Or just have a bunch of land for your kids to run around in and do all the awesome things.
And your dogs. And just say, go free.
Just run. I have this desire for that, guys. I do. But I married a city man. And so it's funny. We talk about this all the time because I actually used to live in Kansas for a minute. But Peter doesn't know if he can live in a quiet area where I'm like, oh, are you sure? We can do this. This is great. Okay, we digress. But let's go ahead and get into that. So if you're looking at Kingsburg, the minimum on market right now is $584, and the max is going to be $1.4 million. So again, very comparable prices. Now, majority of the ones in Kingsburg though is actually $800,000 to $900,000. So if you're looking for something right under $1 million, maybe $1 million is the top of your list. This might be a good city to look at for that land.
All right, so now we're going to hop on to our third city, and this is just a city. It's not a group of cities. We're going to be talking about Arvada, Colorado. This area is going to be so much different than all the others because A, it's the closest to Denver out of all the cities that we're talking about, and B, it's next to the mountains. And so without having to get into the mountains to get some land, this is the next best thing.
What does Arvada look like right now? So if you were to look at land in Arvada, it's going to start and lowest is 1.2 million and it's going to be as high as 3.5 million. So why? Well, because you're right next to the mountain. So we've talked about this a lot in our videos that typically rule of thumb is that if you stay on the east side of I-25, you'll start to see some prices decrease in comparison to being as close to our foothills, which is exactly where kind of the land in Arvada lives. So it's either going to be on the south side of Arvada, kind of in the older Arvada that I grew up in, or, kind of more in the foothills type Arvada with our custom homes and things like that. So,
and I will add on that as well too. Alongside of being close to the mountains, there's also not a surplus of land like you do have in Brighton, Fort Lupton, or even Kingsburg and Hudson, right? And so with that limited land, it's going to rise the prices a little bit because is a lot of suburbia that's getting built out there. A lot of that farmland that's there currently is getting bought, and then there's a new development going in. So something to kind of keep note of, that if we do have a farm property inside of Arvada, it might be worth quite a bit of money because a lot of those developers looking at it like, man, I want to take advantage of Arvada. And look at that, there's a nice piece of land.
I know. I have to share a sad story. So there used to be several parts of Arvada that we would go through, and it'd be right in the middle of Arvada where there would be cows or sheep or goats, especially goats, chickens and things like that.
How could you almost forget the goats?
Can't forget the goats. And they're now either senior housing or apartment buildings or condos. And so, we are starting to see some of those things leave Arvada, but you do still see on, say, 58th and west of Ward Road, we do still have some of those homes, older homes that have land, maybe not as much as 3 acres, but do have larger lots, all built in right down the street from the light rail. So we still have it in Arvada, and it is something that makes Arvada kind of special.
That's true.
Now, as far as I told you kind of the range, the lowest to highest, but majority of the homes are actually going to fall in that high 1 million to 2 million range in this area. So significantly higher than the first couple cities we covered.
Yep. All right, so the fourth area that we're going to be talking about, which is actually going to be south of Denver, is Sedailia, Castle Rock, and Parker, and that covers a shit ton of space. Guys.
It does.
It's seriously, it's a lot of area to cover for sure.
Yes.
So how do you get there? So.
All right, you shoot one at a time.
I was going to say, here we go. Boom, boom.
Yes, gotta go to the map.
All right, cool. So if you want to get over to Sedailia, pretty much, so you got 470, C470, which is it turns into a toll. Half of it's just, public highway. You're going to take 85 south from there, and it'll drive you down into Sedailia. And I will tell you that the houses that do have land here are more of your affluent areas. Mm-hmm. So it's affluent areas who want that land, and that's more what you're going to see. You don't see too many horse properties or anything like that out there. There are some, from people who've owned houses there for a while, and that's why they like the Sedailia area. And Sedailia is beautiful. If I ever had a spot that I could move with like some land, I would probably be in Sedailia. It's right up in the mountains. It's closer to the mountains than Castle Rock and Parker. So that's my own personal preference right there. If you want to get into Castle Rock's super easy. You take I-25 straight south, and you run right into Castle Rock. Parker, if you want to get over to Parker, you take I-25 south from Denver, and you're going to take 225 east, and then you're going to want to get off on 83 going straight south. South Parker Road is what I think they call it on 225, and that'll bring you right into the heart of Parker. So that's a lot of distance to cover, a lot of highways.
We did west, and then central, and then east.
Yeah,
but it's important.
It is important. It's super important. People love this area.
They do. Okay, so what does that mean for price points? Okay, so let's talk about Sedailia first. So Sedailia, the lowest on the market was actually $855. So there was like one though, guys, one at $855, and then it goes up to $4.7 million. So like Peter had talked about, this is that kind of affluent area, and you're going to see multi-million-dollar homes here. Now, most of them though, they actually range between the high 900s and $2 million. So there are some of those that are kind of off in the $3-4 million currently on market, but majority of them did range between the 900 and the $2 million. So still pretty affordable if you're trying to look for some land. Now, if you let's go central to Castle Rock. Castle Rock, the minimum on there was $825. So again, there was like one listing at that, and you're paying more for the land than the house. And then it goes all the way up to $3.8 million. And so again, quite a range, but majority of these in Castle Rock are in the $1 million range. And they're pretty consistent. Majority of them are in the $1 million range. And
so a quick note on Castle Rock too, it is similar to Arvada, where you don't have that surplus of land like you do in all these other cities that we kind of talk about, because it is getting developed like crazy. Castle Rock is one of those areas that was like, okay, I have a 30-minute drive to Denver. There's cheaper housing here, so I wouldn't just live in Castle Rock, and it's gorgeous here, right?
It's so pretty.
But that's not so much anymore. It's not as affordable, and it's gone up quite a bit, but it's going to develop like crazy. So even like 10 years ago, driving through Castle Rock, you typically on the west side, you see a ton of land. Now it's all houses, and all that farmland's kind of getting built on. So similar to Arvada, might not be too much farmland there here soon.
Now, the cool thing about Castle Rock, though, is all the hills.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So Castle Rock, that is the one thing. And Sedailia is pretty hilly, too.
Oh, yeah. So, I just love Sedailia. Yeah. I know. Did I already say that?
Yeah, you did. And this is not, by the way, stick around to the end, because remember, we're going to tell you the best city, the top 3 cities out of all of these to buy in. This is Peter's opinion. We're going to go into why at the end. So, but yes, the hills, people want to move to Castle Rock and all of that because of the beautiful hills. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, let's go on over to Parker, which is another one that keeps hitting a lot of people's interest. Like, we got to get good schools and all kinds of good things in Parker. They have a great
wrestling team, like youth all the way up to high school. It seems like every time we wrestle anyone in Parker, just
they have a good athletics program, I think.
Great. Well, I don't know about the other sports. All I know is wrestling, but
volleyball too.
Oh, volleyball. Oh,
okay, sorry. All right, so over there, let's talk about pricing. Parker actually went as low as $649. Again, there was only about one listing, and then it kind of went up from there, but it did go up to $5.6 million. So huge range. Majority of them, though, are still in the $1 million range. So the answer is you can come here in Colorado. There are multiple cities that you can get a house with land for around $1 million.
All right.
Have
we hit that point?
Like, we need like a drum roll.
I always think about this. We need to have like this certain little drum roll, or like the drama thing where it's like.
Wasn't that good though?
Yeah.
Do you think they can hear it? No. Okay, drum roll. If we were to tell you the best places, I'm going to say it all drawn out, the best places or best cities to buy a house with land, the 3 that we chose was number 1.
Castle Rock.
Castle Rock. And the reason being is actually Castle Rock had 20 active listings on the market.
Yeah, so that's a huge determining factor in these cities. These ones actually offered a little bit more listings than the other cities that we covered.
And the range was pretty large. And so depending on what your price range is, there were options for each price range.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Plus, Castle Rock is starting to become very, very popular. Number 2 would be Sedailia, which is Peter's favorite. Again, there were 14 active listings when looking, and it's the closest to our mountains on the south side. So again, that's something that's going to be really desirable for people. And to be fair, from south to north, we did pick one up north, and that is going to be Brighton. And
this is, like I said, we grew up as kids here, guys, and everyone knew if you wanted to get a piece of property with land, it was Brighton. And Brighton's also done a great job about incorporating kind of a midpoint between suburbia and like a house with land. So you have Todd Creek, which is a huge area over in Brighton where it's pretty much, your suburbia, but they each have like 1 to 5 acres depending on which developer was out there. And so you have these suburbia style houses where you can have that land.
I think also the good thing about Brighton and why it made the list is accessibility.
Yeah.
Being able to get to Denver. Sometimes going to Castle Rock and all that seems really far from some of the things in Denver versus Brighton, just a straight shot over. So the accessibility to Brighton is awesome. Now, Arvada, I wanted to put I'm so biased because I want to put Arvada in there because I grew up in Arvada and all of that. But the big worry about Arvada is whether or not those farmlands are still going to be around.
I think in the next 10, 15 years,
it might be developed.
I think it's going to be gone. Hate to say it. So if you want to buy a piece of land and maybe make a ton of money from a developer,
for sure.
Yeah, maybe
Arvada's it.
Yeah, but I don't see it lasting at all, guys. Like Arvada's growing like crazy, and if they do end up doing that extension to 470 through Arvada, bye.
I think they're all going to be gone.
See ya.
Yeah, and then some of the ones that we did see, their land was cut in half because they had to put a road in. A lot of Arvada's building roads to accommodate for all the people.
Yep.
So that's why I didn't make the list, even though I'm a true Arvada lover. Okay, so top three, Castle Rock, Sedailia, and Brighton. If you're looking for land, those are them. Otherwise, we have many other places. But yes, if you want land in Colorado, you can get it.
All right, guys, we're going to throw that phone number below one more time right there. If you are looking at buying some properties in the state of Colorado, give us a ring or a text. We'll answer either way. And until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye. We oftentimes cover the cookie cutter type of living, homes and what? The cookie cutter what? Colorado real estate family.
What was that?
I thought you were talking.
No. I was doing that. Mm-hmm.
You're like, yep.
Is that weird?
Bring it. I think it's fine.
Okay.
All right. The first one that we're going to cover is. Why are you looking at me funny?
I am.
Okay, hold on.
Quickly too, just because they're kind of Fort Lupton just.
You all right?
Okay.
Just start over.
Okay. More like Lock Buoy. I'm not going to give away the other cities, but I know Lock Buoy's not in there. But I was about to get into it.
How to get there from Denver? Where are you going?
Okay.
With 3 acres of land, to be able to. What am I trying to say here?
Oh, what you see?
I know. Just kind of like malfunctioning. Brain malfunction. More cafe.